You walk into a grocery store and it feels like the safest place in the world. Bright lights, clean aisles, labels that scream fresh and healthy. The brands seem trustworthy, the packaging reassuring. But here is the uncomfortable truth for anyone over 45 that trust can turn into a dangerous trap. Behind those labels often lurk hidden hazards: listeria growing on deli counters, sneaky expiry date swaps on markdown meats, allergens left off labels. The danger is quiet, invisible, and sitting right there in your cart. Let's start with markdown stickers. Sounds harmless, right? Who doesn't like a deal, but the reality is much darker. It begins with a sound most of us never notice: the soft click of a label gun. In one quick motion, yesterday's gray pork chops suddenly get a fresh date, looking as if they were packed this morning. That bright manager's special sticker might not be a bargain at all. Sometimes it's camouflage. Now, markdowns in themselves are not the villain. Stores are supposed to lower prices as food approaches its sell-by date. That's fair. What's not fair, and what can be downright dangerous, is when that date gets swapped, reset, or covered by a new label. This practice has a name: redating, and undercover investigations have caught it happening in major supermarket chains across the United States. Meat that should have been thrown out quietly gets a second chance at your dinner table. Why is this so alarming? Because time is the one ingredient bacteria thrive on. The longer food sits, the more opportunity microbes like Salmonella, Campylobacter, and Listeria have to multiply. And here's the harsh reality: the older you are, the less your body can fight back. According to the CDC, nearly half of seniors who catch these infections end up hospitalized. Not just a stomach ache, this means IV drips, dizziness, kidney strain. It can spiral quickly into a life-threatening situation, and Listeria is especially dangerous. Unlike many bacteria, it doesn't care if food is kept cold. It can continue multiplying even inside your refrigerator. A single slice of contaminated deli meat can be enough to knock someone down. That's why food safety codes clearly state ready-to-eat refrigerated food should never go beyond a strict 7-day window. Change the date and you erase the only safeguard keeping Listeria in check. Some people think, well, I'll just cook it. Heat will kill whatever is in there. But that's not always true. Certain bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus produce toxins that survive heat. A forgotten deli salad might look harmless, but once it's contaminated, reheating won't make it safe. The poison is already there. So how do stores get away with this? The answer lies in regulation, or rather the lack of it. Outside of infant formula, date labels in the United States are not federally standardized. Terms like best by, use by, or sell by are not consistently enforced. Each state does its own thing. Inspections are thinly stretched. And in that gray zone, profit often wins over safety. What can you do? Watch closely. Look for double stickers where a markdown covers the original date. Be cautious with meat that looks overly wet under new plastic wrap. Question deli salads with expiration dates that seem too generous. If you're caring for aging parents or you're in your 60s or 70s yourself, remember this. Treat markdowns as red flags, not bargains, and modern packaging makes the game even trickier. Gas flush trays can keep meat looking cherry red long after it's spoiled. Marinades and glazes can hide gray edges. A clamshell deli tub can make yesterday's potato salad look brand new. For younger shoppers, maybe that just means a bad night. But for seniors, it can mean hospitalization or worse. So next time you see that flashy discount sticker, pause. Ask yourself, is this really tonight's dinner or yesterday's trash dressed up for one last sale? Because if stores are willing to play games with dates, what else in those aisles isn't as fresh as it looks? And that question leads us to the next hidden threat sitting quietly behind the glass at the deli counter. That shiny display, the turkey slices fanned out neatly, the all-natural, no nitrates added sign. It all looks so safe, so sensible. Especially for older adults, it feels like the right choice for a light lunch. But the truth is that cold case is one of the deadliest environments in the grocery store for Listeria, a bacteria that doesn't just make you sick, it can take lives. This is the side of grocery shopping most people never see. And it's why here at Healthy Hues Wellness, with guidance from voices like Dr. Thalo Marcos, we shine a light on the hidden dangers in everyday places. Because protecting your health isn't just about what you eat, it's about what you don't know you're eating. Stay with me because what's behind that deli glass might change the way you shop forever. Here is the part most people never realize. Refrigeration does not stop listeria. It actually grows in the cold slowly and silently while you assume the fridge is protecting you. That is why food safety codes draw such hard lines on how long open meats can sit. Because even at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the bacteria is multiplying, and the refrigerator is not even the biggest problem. The real villain in this story is the slicer. If listeria could choose its favorite piece of equipment, it would be that steel blade at the deli counter. Half of all delis admit they do not break down their slicers for a proper scrub every 4 hours the way the rules require. Half. That means every bolt, every gasket, every hidden groove becomes a place where bacteria can dig in, survive, and spread from one slice of meat to the next. Does that sound extreme? Look back just a short time. In 2024, the CDC tracked a deli meat outbreak that spread across 19 states. 61 people were sickened, 60 hospitalized, and 10 died. Almost every single one of those cases involved seniors. The advice that followed was brutal but simple. If you are over 65, skip deli meats cold, or reheat them until they are steaming hot at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the only guarantee. And here is the cruel irony. Freshly sliced does not mean safer. Studies show that meat sliced at the deli counter carry about 5 times the risk of death compared to the exact same meat sliced and sealed at the factory. Why such a difference? At the factory, they use antimicrobial blends, sterile environments, and packaging that locks out contamination. At the deli, you are dealing with slicers, human hands wiping rags and refrigerators that do not always stay cold enough. The risk multiplies in ways most shoppers never consider. Even the labels can be deceptive. You might see words like uncured or no nitrites added and think it is a healthier choice. But here is the truth. Nitrites are one of the tools that help hold listeria back. Remove them without replacing that protection, and what looks like a cleaner label may actually mean a dirtier, riskier product. Timing makes it worse. Seniors often like to stock up stretch meals and keep food in the fridge for a week. Listeria loves that too. After just 7 days in the fridge, it is already multiplying to dangerous levels. Add in a refrigerator that runs just a little warm, say 43 degrees instead of 40, and the bacteria grows even faster. Picture this. You reach for a few slices of turkey for a quick sandwich. No bad smell, no slimy texture, no warning sign at all. But hidden inside bacteria that can spread silently through your bloodstream, waiting weeks before showing symptoms. That is why the CDC's warning cuts deeper than any slogan on a deli case. Seniors skip the cold cuts unless you heat them, because behind that neat row of freshly sliced meats lies a danger colder, sneakier, and deadlier than you think. But the deli counter is only the beginning. If the thought of contaminated meats rattled you, wait until you step into the so-called healthy produce aisle. Those bright clamshells of cut fruit bags, of triple-wash salad kits, or tubs of sprouts that practically scream health food. They look like the safest bets in the store. But for anyone over 45, they can be some of the riskiest items you put in your cart. Here is why. Once you cut a fruit, you open the floodgates. The rind or peel that used to keep bacteria out is gone. Now every knife nick, every plastic glove, every cutting board becomes a pathway for germs straight into the soft flesh. With melons, the problem gets even worse. The rough-netted rind acts like Velcro, trapping dirt and microbes. The moment a knife slices through it, drags all of that into the juicy center. You will never taste it, never smell it, but the bacteria is already multiplying. The FDA's own food code actually lists cut melon, cut tomatoes, and leafy greens in the same category as raw meat or dairy. They are called time and temperature control foods, meaning if they are not kept below 41 degrees Fahrenheit, they turn from healthy snacks into bacterial playgrounds. Think about that the next time you grab a fruit cup that has been sitting in an open cooler all day. It looks fine, it feels cold. But if that case cycled up even a few degrees, you could be spooning up salmonella along with your pineapple. And sprouts are even scarier. Alfalfa, clover, mung, bean. Whichever you choose, they all grow in warm, wet conditions. The exact same conditions that Salmonella and E. coli thrive in. Contamination often starts back at the seed itself, out in fields where animals wander or where water runs dirty. Once that seed sprouts, bacteria can spread through the entire plant. Rinsing does not fix it. Washing does not make it safe. That is why health experts warn seniors bluntly: skip raw sprouts or cook them until they are steaming hot. It is the only real protection. This is the hidden reality of the grocery store. What looks clean and healthy on the outside can carry invisible risks on the inside. And for older adults, those risks are magnified by weaker immune systems and slower recovery. At Healthy Hues Wellness, guided by insights from Dr. Thalo Marcos, the mission is clear. Reveal these hidden dangers, break down the science, and give you the tools to shop smarter. Because a grocery cart should carry nourishment, not a trip to the emergency room. The warm, wet conditions that allow those delicate little sprouts to grow are the very same conditions that Salmonella and E. coli thrive in. Contamination often begins long before the sprouts ever reach the store. It can start back at the seed sitting in a field where animals roam freely or where irrigation water runs dirty. By the time that seed germinates, bacteria can spread throughout the entire plant. You can rinse them again and again, but it will not matter. The germs are already inside. That is why the CDC is so direct in its advice to older adults. No sugarcoating, no loopholes. Avoid raw sprouts altogether or cook them until they are steaming hot. And then there is the smoothie trap. Those frozen ready-to-blend kits with names like Immunity Boost or Vitality Mix seem like the ultimate shortcut to health. The fruit looks bright, the packaging looks perfect, and the promise feels safe. But these kits have been recalled more than once, carrying contaminants like Listeria, hepatitis A, and more. Freezing locks in the color and texture, but it does not kill the pathogens. When you dump that frozen blend into your blender, you may think you are making a wholesome smoothie, but what you could really be sipping is a live pathogen cocktail wearing a wellness label. Listeria is especially deceptive because it does not follow the same rules as most bacteria. Cold storage does not stop it. It grows quietly in the refrigerator. Every additional day that pre-cut fruit or salad kits sit in your fridge, the bacterial numbers rise higher. Seniors are hit hardest because they often store food longer at home and their immune defenses are weaker. By the time symptoms finally appear, weeks may have passed and the memory of that melon cup or kale mix has faded. So when you see that glossy container of pre-cut fruit or a bag labeled triple washed, ask yourself if it really looks safer or if it just looks fresher. Because the truth hiding in the produce aisle is much uglier than the shiny packaging lets on. And if fruit cups sound risky, the so-called fancy section of the cold case raises the bar even higher. Soft cheeses and dips may look like harmless little indulgences, but for seniors they can be open doors for Listeria and Salmonella. Picture a wedge of brie with its snowy rind, a tub of hummus stamped with clean and classic, or guacamole stacked high with a bright green label and a 2-week shelf life. These glossy packages are not simply treats, they are invitations for bacteria. Here is the harsh reality. These are ready-to-eat foods. There is no cooking step at home to serve as a kill switch. What you buy is what you swallow, and Listeria thrives in that setup. It has a unique trick that few other bacteria can match. It grows in the fridge. The cold temperature that you trust to protect food actually gives this bug the advantage. That means a wedge of brie can carry Listeria without ever smelling wrong or tasting spoiled. The numbers are stark. In the United States, Listeria hospitalizes around 1,600 people each year and kills more than 260, with most of those victims being older adults. Once you pass 65 or take medications that lower stomach acid, the odds tilt against you quickly. What might give a young adult a stomachache can send a senior into intensive care. Do not be fooled by the word pasteurized on the label. It only means the milk started clean. Contamination can still occur later in the aging rooms on slicers or during packaging. In 2022, Brie and Camembert cheeses from Old Europe Cheese were recalled nationwide after listeria was traced back to one contaminated drain. Dozens of brands, all from the same facility, ended up in stores across the country. Dips tell a similar story. Hummus looks healthy and straightforward, made of chickpeas, garlic, and tahini, but tahini comes from sesame seeds, and sesame seeds have been at the center of repeated salmonella recalls. Once contaminated, those seeds go directly into the hummus with no cooking step in between. Guacamole is no safer. The FDA has found both salmonella and listeria not only on avocado peels but also inside the flesh. That viral trick of storing cut avocados in water may keep them green, but it also helps bacteria migrate deeper into the fruit. And here is the kicker. These dips and cheeses are often vacuum sealed and stored cold. That slows spoilage, but it does not stop pathogens. Under the right conditions of pH, moisture, and time, a sealed tub can become an incubator, quietly multiplying bacteria while the label insists everything inside is safe. The danger in the grocery store is not always obvious. The foods that look the cleanest, the freshest, and the healthiest can hide the most risk. For older adults, especially, knowing where the real hazards lie can mean the difference between enjoying a meal and ending up in the hospital. A sealed tub of dip or cheese may look fresh and safe, but the right combination of pH, moisture, and time can quietly turn it into a slow-motion incubator. While you glance at the date and think everything is fine, listeria may already be multiplying inside with every extra day it sits in your fridge. This is not paranoia, it is biology. As people age, the immune system slows down, stomach acid weakens, and common medications can lower defenses even more. That is why the CDC gives such clear guidance. Older adults should avoid raw sprouts and soft cheeses unless they are steaming hot. The same logic applies here. Those dips and cheeses that look clean and luxurious are already primed to betray you. So the next time you pass by the gourmet case and see brie or guacamole posing as safe little indulgences, remember this: it is not about flavor. It is about time, temperature, and a bacteria that thrives in both. And if soft cheese feels like a gamble, the salad bar raises the stakes. At first glance, it looks like a picture of health. Ice glittering beneath stainless steel trays, glass shields shining neat rows of tongs waiting like silver soldiers. It seems quick, fresh, and effortless. For many older shoppers, it looks like the perfect shortcut to vitamins without the hassle of cooking. But what you do not see is how quickly that beautiful line of food can turn into a petri dish. Every tong you pick up has already been handled by hundreds of other shoppers that day. Hands that touch shopping carts, phones, bathroom doors, and those same tongs go straight back into the spinach you are about to eat. Researchers have even measured E. coli transferring directly from shared tongs to greens during normal use. Shared utensils are not just tools, they are public handles for other people's germs. And what about that bed of ice under the food? It looks reassuring, but it is an illusion. The cold sits at the bottom of the pan while the top layers of food sit exposed to room air. Warm, moist, and perfect for bacteria to double in number every 20 minutes. Regulators know this, which is why the FDA food code insists that food must be kept at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. But walk into a crowded store at lunchtime and you will see lids lifted, people leaning under the glass, and those top layers of salad sweating in open air. That is exactly where pathogens like listeria win. Unlike most bacteria, listeria can grow even at refrigerator temperatures, and it kills more than 200 Americans each year, most of them older adults. One bite of fresh romaine from that bar is not just roughage, it can be the start of a hospital stay. And then there is the comfort blanket. Most people rely on the sneeze guard. It sounds protective in theory, but fails in practice. It may block a straight sneeze, but it does not stop a curious child from reaching under with bare hands. It does not stop airflow carrying particles around the edges. Public health guidance is blunt. Sneeze guards are design requirements, not force fields. They make you feel safer, but they do not actually guarantee safety. The real danger often hides in the extras: Sprouts that look so wholesome yet grow in warm, wet conditions, tailor-made for salmonella and E. coli. Cut melon glistening in the tray, but once it is chopped, bacteria multiply fast unless it stays truly ice cold. And at most salad bars, it does not. That is why the CDC flat out tells people over 65 to skip raw sprouts and to skip cut melon that has been sitting out. Yet there they are every single day under the glass waiting. These dangers are not hypothetical, they are documented. In 2011, an E. coli outbreak linked to Schnucks grocery salad bars sent 60 people across 10 states to the hospital. A year earlier, shredded romaine headed for salad bars triggered another multi-state outbreak and recalls. And these were not shady restaurants or back alley markets. These were major supermarkets, the very places that look spotless and safe. For younger people, foodborne illness may just mean a rough night or a stomach bug. But for older adults, especially those taking medications that reduce stomach acid, the same plate of greens can land them in intensive care. And if that unsettles you, what comes next may be even more surprising. Because sometimes the danger is not in the food itself, but in a single word stamped boldly on the label. A word like healthy. It sounds safe, doesn't it? But in the grocery world, that one word can be less of a guidepost and more of a trap. Heart-shaped logos and heart-healthy stamps may look like endorsements from your doctor. But the truth written in the fine print tells a very different story. Those heart-shaped logos and heart-healthy stamps on food packages feel like a doctor's seal of approval. But take a closer look at the fine print. A single can of soup carrying that badge can still contain nearly 500 milligrams of sodium per serving. And let's be honest, most people eat the whole can. That means you are swallowing a third of your entire day's sodium limit in one sitting. That is not love for your heart. That is a salt bomb wrapped with a bow. Then there is the word natural. It sounds comforting, safe, and wholesome. But here's the truth. The FDA has never given the word a strict definition. It basically just means not synthetic. That is it. It does not mean low sodium, low sugar, or healthy. So when you see natural slapped across deli meats or granola, what you may really be buying is a pile of salt starches and a blood sugar roller coaster packaged as clean eating. Natural, sure. Naturally pushing your blood sugar through the roof. Organic feels like the gold standard. People buy it believing they are safe from harm. But organic only regulates how food is grown, not how healthy it is once it is on your plate. That organic cookie can still be loaded with sugar. That organic soup can still leave your blood pressure pounding. Even worse, organic does not shield you from bacteria. A few years ago, an organic frozen vegetable line triggered a massive listeria recall. You do not win immunity points just because the farm used fewer pesticides. Reduced sodium is another clever trap. It means 25% less than the regular version, not that it is actually low. If the original soup had 900 milligrams of sodium, the reduced one still has 600. For seniors aiming to stay under 1,500 milligrams in an entire day, one bowl can burn through almost half the allowance, and some reduced sodium products replace salt with potassium chloride, which can be dangerous for anyone on kidney medication or blood pressure pills. Then come the sugar games. No sugar added does not mean low sugar. That fruit juice flaunting a healthy halo still carries the sugar load of soda only naturally occurring. Other times, manufacturers swap in sugar alcohols like xylitol or maltitol. Younger people may just get cramps or bloating, but for older adults who dehydrate faster and juggle multiple medications, the result can be dizziness, dehydration, and bathroom emergencies no one wants to talk about. The sneakiest trick of all might be multigrain. It looks earthy, wholesome, safe. But unless the label clearly says 100% whole wheat, what you are usually eating is a stack of refined grains dusted with just enough whole grain to make it legal. One study found that whole grain stamps were more common on foods higher in sugar and calories, multigrain more like multi-trick. The pattern is clear. Every shiny word on the front of the package, healthy, natural, organic, reduced, no sugar, pulls your eyes away from the numbers that matter on the back. Sodium, added sugars, ingredients like maltodextrin potassium salt, or artificial fibers that can wreak havoc on your body. Because at the end of the day, the scariest thing in the grocery aisle is not the processed meat or the mystery filler. It is the healthy promise that makes you stop asking questions. And if misleading labels are not unsettling enough, the next aisle reveals an even dirtier secret. Bagged salads and deli kits look like a modern miracle. Triple washed lettuce, perfect cubes of cheese, a tub of chicken salad stamped with protein on the go. No chopping, no cooking, no mess. You toss it in your cart, feel good about the choice, and move on. But here is the ugly twist. Those bags are like sleeper cells for Listeria monocytogenes, a bacteria that thrives in the cold and loves sealed plastic. Listeria is not like the bugs most of us know. Salmonella hates the fridge. E. coli slows down, but Listeria relaxes at 39 degrees, a normal refrigerator temperature, and multiplies quietly. So while your lettuce looks crisp and fine, the bacteria may already be doubling inside that airtight package. For seniors, this is especially alarming. The CDC reports that more than half of listeriosis cases strike people over 65, and about 1 in 6 of them do not survive. Not from undercooked chicken, not from gas station sushi, from bagged greens and cold cuts that look like the healthy choice. Think about that the next time you reach for a Caesar salad kit that seems too good, too easy, and too fresh to resist. The danger in bagged salads begins long before the grocery aisle. Those leaves are cut, washed in giant tanks, and sealed in bags with modified atmospheres designed to slow browning. It sounds advanced and safe, but here is the truth. Triple wash does not mean sterile. A single drop of leaf juice trapped inside the bag becomes an energy drink for bacteria feeding Listeria, while the package proudly declares ready to eat. And do not get too comfortable with the dates stamped on those bags. Best By does not mean safe. It only refers to taste. Listeria does not read labels. The longer that bag sits in transport trucks, on store shelves, and finally in your fridge, the more time it has to build an invisible army. Studies show that more than 40% of supermarket coolers allow greens to creep above 45 degrees for hours at a time. That is not cold storage. That is a bacteria spa day. Add to that the fact that nearly half of home refrigerators run too warm, and suddenly your crisper drawer has turned into a petri dish. This is not just theory. The outbreak history tells the story. Dole salads. Fresh Express even pre-made. Salad kits have all been pulled from shelves because a single contaminated packet of cheese or dressing turned the entire product toxic. People ended up hospitalized. Some did not survive. And the pattern keeps repeating because the system does not change. It gets uglier with deli kits. Those snack packs with neat little compartments of meat and cheese may look safe, but they are the perfect delivery system for Listeria. The bacteria thrives on slicers and deli counters. Unless you reheat that meat to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, you are swallowing the exact bacteria the CDC warns older adults to avoid. A single film on a slicer can seed ham, turkey, and cheese with Listeria for weeks before anyone notices. Bagged salads and deli kits are sold as the healthy shortcut. In reality, they are the shortcut Listeria uses to reach you. But here's the twist. What if the foods that look the safest in the store are actually the riskiest? Frozen dinners and those glossy bags of salmon fillets stacked neatly behind spotless glass seem like the ultimate safe bet. Rock-solid frozen hard labeled with words like healthy and convenient. But freezing is not a kill switch. It is only a pause button. The germs do not die. They wait. And the moment temperatures wobble in the store case in your car or in that old garage freezer that struggles through summer heat, that pause button flips into fast forward. For younger people, that might mean nothing more than a rough night. But for older adults with weaker immune defenses, less stomach acid, and unreliable appliances, it becomes a perfect storm. A frozen dinner that warms just a little too long can turn into a Trojan horse delivering illness hours later. Picture this. A storm knocks out power overnight. Your freezer door stays shut. The food feels cold in the morning. Everything looks fine. But if it sat above 40 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 2 hours, it is no longer fine. It is roulette. A tightly packed freezer might buy you 2 days of safety, A half-full one only 1 day. A refrigerator maybe 4 hours. Without a thermometer inside, you would never know. Seniors living alone unaware of a short power outage often pay the highest price for this quiet failure. And then there are the bacteria that survive the cold. Listeria can sit comfortably in a freezer waiting for the right chance to grow again. It thrives even at refrigerator temperatures. That is why outbreaks from frozen vegetables and ice cream have led to warnings that sound shocking. Check your freezer for boxes that have been sitting for months because the hazard is not gone. It is waiting. Even more invisible saboteurs lurk in thawing food. Staphylococcus aureus and Bacillus cereus do not just grow when food sits warm for too long. They leave behind toxins. And here is the cruel truth. Those toxins laugh at heat. You can cook the food later, microwave it until it bubbles, but it will not matter. The bacteria may die, but the poison remains. For someone already vulnerable, prone to dehydration, or taking medication that weakens defenses, that can mean a trip to the emergency room. Seafood carries its own unique dangers. Have you heard of scombroid poisoning? It happens when fish like tuna or mahi-mahi warm up and begin producing histamine. Once that histamine forms, no amount of freezing or cooking gets rid of it. The fish may look perfect, smell fine, and cook beautifully, but it can still leave you flushed, dizzy, or struggling to breathe. You could sit down to a salmon fillet that looks perfect, smells fresh, and still end up flushed. Heart racing, maybe even wheezing. That is not the kind of dinner surprise anyone wants, especially if you already have heart medication in the cabinet. Even the packaging itself can turn risky. Take vacuum-sealed fish. It seems safe, but if you thaw it in the fridge without opening the bag, that low-oxygen pocket becomes the perfect environment for botulism to grow even at refrigerator temperatures. The advice buried in the fine print is blunt. Always open the package before thawing. Miss that step and the risk is real. And if you thought frozen dinners were foolproof, think again. Many of them look cooked on the outside with grill marks and golden breading, but inside they are still raw. Heat them the wrong way, skip the standing time, or use an older low-watt microwave, and the center can stay cool enough for salmonella to survive. The box may say cook thoroughly, but how many people, especially seniors, are cross-checking wattage charts printed on the side panel? Freezers feel safe because they look solid and unchanging, but for older adults they can hide dangers you cannot smell or see. The next time you pull out a frozen meal or fillet of fish, ask yourself one question. Has this been truly frozen or just frozen enough to fool me? You would think the freezer door was the last line of defense, but the real trouble can appear long before you ever open it. Grocery store sampling stations are one of the weakest points in the system. A neat little tray with cubes of cheese or sips of soup looks inviting. A smiling worker encourages you to try one. For seniors, those freebies can be a gamble with serious stakes. Hundreds of hands touch the same tongs, flip the same lids, hover over the same trays. One cough in the aisle, one sneeze too close, and that tiny sample becomes a petri dish. Unlike packaged food samples, rarely carry allergy labels or timestamps. You have no idea how long they have been sitting out or what they have picked up along the way. The CDC does not mince words. Seniors are a high-risk group for foodborne illness. Just 18 viral particles of norovirus, yes, only 18, can knock someone flat. For anyone over 65, the odds of ending up in the hospital skyrocket. Add in common medications like acid reducers, which strip away your stomach's first line of defense, and suddenly even a small cube of cheese can be dangerous. And cheese has already proven the point. In 2010, an E. coli outbreak linked to in-store samples at Costco sickened nearly 40 people across multiple states. The demo setup looked cheerful and safe, but that single free bite carried a pathogen strong enough to cause kidney failure. That is not history trivia. It is a warning of how quickly try before you buy can turn into sick before you know it. Even when the food itself is fine, the equipment is often not. Deli slicers. The machines used to prepare those little cubes are notorious for harboring listeria. By federal code, they are supposed to be disassembled and scrubbed every 4 hours. But inspections repeatedly show that many stores skip this step. Cracks in the blades trap residue that sanitizer never touches. That same slicer is what cuts the samples handed out. And listeria can survive even inside the refrigerator lying in wait. And those sneeze guards you see on demo carts. They look reassuring, but they only block a direct sneeze. They do not stop dirty hands reaching underneath. They do not stop airflow carrying particles around the edges. Every time someone adjusts the lid, leans in too close, or double dips, a toothpick contamination spreads further. Researchers at Clemson University ran a simple experiment with double dipping. A single bite followed by a second dip added thousands of bacteria to the bowl. Now imagine that happening all day long at a sample cart in your store. Here is the detail most shoppers never realize. The smiling person handing you that bite might not even work for the grocery store. Sampling is often outsourced to third-party demo companies. In some states, those workers are not even required to have basic food handler certifications, which means the person placing open food in front of you might have less training than the teenager making sandwiches at the deli counter. So the next time you walk by a tray of free bites, pause and ask yourself a simple question. How long has this been sitting here? How many people touched that sample before you did? And who actually set it out in the grocery store? The cheapest bite on a toothpick can end up being the most expensive thing you eat. And if that thought makes you uneasy, wait until you see what happens when the label itself turns into the trap. Mislabeled allergens might sound like nothing more than a paperwork slip, but for older shoppers, it can mean the difference between a quiet dinner and a trip to the emergency room. Picture this: a loaf of bread that looks exactly like the one you bought last week. Same brand, same logo, same whole grain promise, except this time the bakery quietly switched suppliers and the crust was brushed with an egg wash. The problem is that tiny change never made it onto the ingredient list. This is not rare. The FDA keeps an archive of recalls that read like a grocery list you would recognize. Pasta with undeclared egg, deli meals hiding soy, ice cream cartons swapped in the factory so the label did not match what was inside. These are not exotic imports from far away. They are comfort foods, easy dinners, the staples most of us toss into the cart without a second thought. And here is where it cuts deeper for seniors. The body does not bounce back the way it used to. Allergists warn that older adults often carry other conditions like heart disease, asthma, or high blood pressure that make allergic reactions more severe. Add in the fact that many seniors take medications that complicate treatment, and what might have been a rash at 25 can become a life-threatening collapse at 70. The sting is that many of these mistakes are not made by shady companies. They come from everyday human slip-ups in massive factories that move too fast, a roll of labels loaded onto the wrong machine, a new recipe updated before the packaging caught up, and then there are the voluntary phrases that sound polite but are often the biggest red flags. May contain, made in the same facility as. They sound like disclaimers, but what they really mean is we cannot guarantee you are safe. Sesame makes the picture even messier. When the law changed in 2023 to require sesame labeling, some bakeries did not improve their cleaning systems. Instead, they started adding sesame to products that used to be safe just to cover themselves legally. Imagine buying the same wheat roll you have trusted for decades, only to discover sesame flour was added without warning. For someone with an allergy, that is not protection, that is betrayal, and do not think deli counters are safer. Those fresh clamshell containers of pasta salad or store-made items often carry the highest risk because they are labeled in-house. One rushed employee at the scale, one missing ingredient on a sticker. That is all it takes for an allergen never to make it onto the package. The FDA has even issued warning letters to major grocery chains over this exact problem. The takeaway for older shoppers is sobering. Every aisle can hide a silent tripwire. The loaf of bread, the frozen meal you thought was safe, the grab-and-go pasta. All of them can carry risks not printed on the label. Grocery shopping should not feel like a gamble, especially not after leaving your pharmacy appointment. But when allergens slip past labels, the risks are not what you see. They are what you do not.